Thank you, Dwayne.
You're welcome.
Okay,
No, I use cash.
ready? Here we go. We're gonna reconvene in open session at 7:03. You'll have a motion? Moore? Second by Pierce. All in favor? Aye. Action determined the closed session. The action for the report of the closed session required, the student petition reinstatement 21-22-23. Permitted to unconditional enrollment in traditional school programs and under a behavioral contract. And that was motion by Mario, second by Moore, and that one would pass 4-1, 4 and 1 absent. Second one is the student expulsion hearing, 90-22-23. Action for consideration of violation of California Education Code, section 48900C. The action is to not expel a student, allow the student to return to school with a behavioral contract, which is conditions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second by Brendan, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Procedural issues. Recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge allegiance. Mr. Holmes, would you lead, please?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. I'm here. Mario is here. Adrian's here. Sonny is still out on a family matter, and Dwayne Moore is here. Approve agenda
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with correction.
with corrections.
Page 5. The last two candidates are for TMS, not early college campus.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Anybody more? All in favor? Aye. Let's see, reports. So RTA is not here today. CSEA.
Thank you. I'm Christina Hopkins from CCA. We're obviously in summer session. We have no complaints really. Everything's going well. Everybody is, out to summer or working, and we have an initial proposal that was put in. I haven't seen it on the board calendar yet, so that's probably soon. Unless it was there last week. I don't know. We had it done like a couple weeks ago. So, and just looking forward to having a date for negotiations.
That's it. Thank you. CBO report, Mr. Urban.
All right, well, it's tough to do these, back-to-back meetings, but especially with the holiday on Monday. On my end of things, it's been, wrap up the budget for tonight's meeting and get payroll completed for end of June and start getting groundwork laid for July mid-month payroll. Construction continues at the middle school. We've got underground survey maps now for the high school project that have been sent over to the architect. So as they put together the plans and everything like that for that project to be bid out, everybody's hopefully aware of what's underground so that, when the digging starts, the change orders don't start quite as quickly. So that is it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Assistant Superintendent, Instruction and Curriculum, Dr. Mendez.
Okay. Good evening, Board, Superintendent Gaines, community, and colleagues. We have a report here. Roseman High Early College campus leadership team and admin collaborated with Joseph Inora. He's a solution tree coach that occurred today. They focused on sharing ideas and planning for next steps in regards to PLC implementation. Ms. Gaines, Sean Riley, and I also had a meeting today with Transfer BR representatives on incorporating technology with virtual CT pathway experiences. We're getting ready for Avid Summer Institute. That's going to be happening next week, taking place in Anaheim. So we have 56 team members that are going to be participating in the community of practice sessions. We also had a PBIS professional development here with Chip Wilson. That was last week. We have another training coming up at the end of the week on the 23rd. We're going to continue to focus on PBIS as well as PLCs. And we had a professional development opportunity facilitated by Dr. Douglas Fisher. That was this past Friday. We focused on teacher clarity, assessments, scaffolds, among other topics. And then we continue with our summer school sessions. We're going to be concluding session 1 on the 23rd, so this Friday. And then we will pick up with session 2 on 4th of July. That concludes, and then that concludes my report.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent, Special Education, Pupil Personnel, Ms. Taylor.
Hello, everybody. So we had a parent meeting today, this morning, in the Parent Center for Hope Squad for some of our parents of our new incoming students today. And the meeting was super emotional, but yet wonderful. One of the parents who participated had experienced the loss of 2 friends in her life due to suicide. So it gave us a lot of additional emotional conversation about the topic, and it was very touching, and it resulted in the parent inquiring. You know, I've always looked for something to be involved in to help people in the community. Is there any way like that I can be involved in Hope Squad? Like, can I work for the district and do Hope Squad? What can I do? And I said, well, you know, Hope Squad's just provided by our advisors here in the district. And she says, well, you mentioned that you want more parent and community involvement. I said, yes, we absolutely do. Southern Kern does have a goal, which is why we have this parent community center of, you know, getting people more linked together in the community and the district. And she goes, would it be possible for me to be trained and we could put together a community Hope Squad? And then we can work perhaps with you through the parent center so that we can provide support to people in need in the community. And I thought that was a beautiful suggestion, because in my time that I've been in Southern Kern, I know we've lost at least 6 staff members to suicide, and we've had numerous students who's lost parents to suicide. So I thought, if there's a way we can do this, I think it could be a tremendous benefit to our community. Mrs. Cambalisa and I went to a training recently to become certified instructors, so we can train people to be advisors of Hope Squad. So I spoke with Fallon earlier as well, as she heads up the Parent Community Center, and she also expressed a lot of excitement about this potentially being something that, with the guidance of our Hope Squad advisors, and if we could train a team of community members who could then have support meetings in the Parent Center to support community members who are struggling with mental health issues, I think that would be a really fantastic way for us to help support this community. So that's something that I would like to look more into doing, if everybody feels good about that. In addition to that, we also have been working on setting up our groups for our new counseling sessions for next school year, because we want to make sure that we're addressing the needs of as many kids as possible. And so we've put together 8 groups to address a variety of areas. We are putting the positive end of these. I'm gonna pass them around. I printed out some for everybody to look at. We've named them positive names. We are trying to veer away from the stigma of mental health and turn everything into a positive. There are the labels are on here because I have these to pass around and show you. Mrs. Campbellisa and Mrs. Rodriguez, who are working in summer, have been working on putting these packets together. Every student in a group will receive the packet for that group. It's a work packet, so they'll work through it during their sessions. And then when they finish their sessions, they keep this, so they have a referral guide readily available that they can go back and look at anytime they need to. So I brought some of these for y'all to look at as well. Also, in regard to Hope Squad, while you're looking at those, let's say a few more things. In our last training, we were informed that Hope Squad is now starting squads in the military. They're starting squads in very different corporations, larger corporations, where there's a high prevalence of suicide. So Hope Squads are expanding. They're starting some squads in colleges as well. So we'd like to help expand it in our area.
Okay. Social Superintendent, Human Resources, Ms. Harris.
Good evening. We have been very, very busy. Trying to fill our last few positions. Right now, we're in a really good spot. We have only a few spots left, but our greatest need is we need 3 6th grade teachers. So we are trying to find those. So we have hired a large number of teachers. And Monica's been really busy processing all of them, from receiving their paperwork, reviewing paperwork, and then processing those credentials with the county to the commission on teacher credentialing. So hopefully everybody that we have already hired will be processed and ready to go in the next couple of weeks. Tomorrow, Becky's going to be doing some classified testing. There's a test that some classified staff need to pass in order to apply for some of these other positions. So there are a large number of classified positions that we have to fill, but she does have a lot of folks that are coming in for testing tomorrow. I think that's her first date. I think she does it in the morning and she does it in the afternoon, so she does double sessions with those. But we do have paraeducators, special education, classroom and one-to-one educators, custodial CSOs, ACES instructors, food service, and even a clerk position. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's report, Ms. Gaines.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Good evening to all of our parents and community members at home. Don't have a whole lot this evening, but I do want to again thank all of our teachers, our staff, our classified staff, and our admin who are running very efficient summer schools. Our numbers are pretty good numbers in our summer program for the first session. as Dr. Mendez mentioned, our second session will begin July 5th. So parents, if you're listening, you know, your children can attend both sessions if you would like. Last week we had Dr. Doug Fisher here. It's always a pleasure to have him. He is so knowledgeable on the craft of just learning and how to improve student learning. I could actually probably listen to him for days. He's just that renowned, and he's so down to earth, and just sat down at the table with all of us and just talked about what's going on, not only in our district, but what's going on in the state and even across the nation. So we sort of walked away with the idea that we're not too far off. There's Dr. Doug Fisher and our team of administrators that were in that session. I also want everybody, seems like everybody's been out doing some serious learning. Fallon just got back from California Community School conference in the Bay Area, San Francisco. And she came back all excited and said that we're ahead of the track in most cases with our community schools grant, and we have a couple more ways that we're going to be able to expand on what we're doing for this community. So Fallon, thank you. It's always a treat to hear from you and to know that we're on the right path to having a fully implemented community school facility for our parents. And next week, as Dr. Mendez said, we have a large team going to Avid. I think sometimes people think conferences, oh, how fun for them. But let me tell you, it's bell to bell. You're up we were for the PLC conference, those that were here, we met for breakfast at 6:30, that's AM and not PM. And it just, the sessions and the keynotes, and you just don't want to miss anything, but it's so worth it. And so next week, I really look forward to being with everybody, representing all of the schools, including our adult ed, for learning about our Avid strategies. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I do have Mr. Vincelette, the attendance awards for May that will end the year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You guys get to hang these up next.
You can leave them up until September sometime.
Yeah, like I said, the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
school year.
Okay, we're going to present best attendance secondary. And if you'll remember last month, hide your head. Mr. Bajnok did not win. Remember that? Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
Let's all, raise your hand if you remember that. Yes, I remember that. Fortunately for Mr. Bajnok, he's back on track, but his record had 1 month of a flaw that he lost to Tropico. Best secondary attendance, Rosemont High Early College Campus. Where's Shevlin?
Where's he hiding? I saw his car.
And best attendance elementary. Darn, I don't, oh, I'm just kidding you, Patrick. West Park. You can hang it up now. Not on the fence. Please. Okay, and most improved attendance. And I'm really reluctant to give this to you because the attendance improvement was 0 0.09%. Improvement is improvement, Mr. Bajnath, Roseman High. You can hang both. Congratulations.
Stop it.
That's it?
Yes.
All right. I guess I'll start it off because I always pick on everybody and I think Adrian is tired of me picking on her first. As Mrs. Gaines alluded a little bit, is that I do read a lot of, especially the CSA letter, emails that come out every day. And I sent her an article that I saw yesterday. This is basically for the board and things that we need to consider is that Education Week commentary. How superintendents can engage board members to benefit their districts, okay? We got a great superintendent and she has done a lot of this. So how can we get school board members to become advocates for the professional learning teachers needed to have a deeper impact on students' learning? Too often board members are seen as disconnected from the day-to-day learning needs of the teachers and students. And they seem to, as the people who focus on how the district spends money or how to keep a district from raising taxes. Well, we don't get to play that much with that, but I can say this board here, from being here for the last 3 years, we definitely have watched our superintendent provide all kinds of opportunities for the teachers to improve. And for us to see that and see what's going on, our district's growing. We have a few other, a lot of positive results in there. So I think we need to basically continue on with that support to our superintendent whenever we possibly can. I think we all agree with that. So, and Cheryl, I liked your presentation and the Hope Squad thing, especially with the parent proposed. I think it's a good idea. And we should definitely research and go ahead and do that. And same thing, same theme, parent involvement. Parents, the better you're involved with your students' education, the better they become good students. Other than that, that's all I have. Mario?
Hope everybody has a good summer, even though we're in school, it seems like always. And we don't get enough off. We work every month throughout the year. Everybody thinks that, the school board doesn't do anything here this summer. Right. Anyways, Cheryl, that was a good presentation. Thank you. I was reading a bunch of the little tidbits in there and I did open one of the folders, read some of the stuff. I like it. Let's
Awesome,
go.
thank you.
And thank you for the t-shirt, even though it was supposed to be too large. That's awesome.
Oh, good.
I'm very comfortable. That's all I have really. The board's been doing a decent job. We could always do better. I know, hey, I'm the one that's always says that we can always improve. But yes, as far as being supportive to the staff, I think we do a pretty good job. And if we don't, please let us know. And I'm sure you guys out there will always let us know if we're not doing a good job. So thank you.
Mike?
Just everybody have a safe and happy summer. And thank you to the ones who work in summer school because I know I like my breaks. So congrats to all of you guys that like to work over the summer when you have the option to stay home. Cheryl, I do like these counseling groups, especially as these teachers and principals and everybody knows, especially the last one, substance abuse and healthy lifestyle. Because as a board, we see a lot of that. So I think that's, number one, and, full common collective, things like that. I think that's a great idea also with the community home squad. And other than that, just stay safe every day. It's crazy out there. It really is.
Okay. Last but not least, this time.
Yeah, that's me. Hello, everybody. Like everyone else, I really don't have too much. I'm interested in learning more, obviously, about the Hope Squad and the suggestion that the parent came up with as well. That seems, that's great. I'm interested and I hope we can get my hands on one of those.
Once we
Both,
get all
yeah,
of them finished, I'll bring a copy of all of
Yeah.
them.
that would be great.
Absolutely, whoever wants them.
And then, Dr. Mendes, I have a question. You said, I believe I heard it again, PBLS. What is that?
Oh.
CBIS.
Positive behavior intervention supports. So that goes along with a lot of the work that also Cheryl is focused on. And it's like the behavior component, but in a positive light, recognizing students for positive behavior and things that they're doing well, so that other students will see that. And like, hey, I would like to be recognized as well, you know, and it helps promote positive school climate and culture through different methods. You know, it's a collaborative process which involves teachers, administrators, it involves students and our parents. So it's positive behavior intervention support, PBIS.
Okay, great. Yes, I always wanting to learn. Okay.
If you're on the school board, a lot of acronyms.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And so, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'll get that later. And yeah, there's little notations I have everywhere. That's it. Just thank you all for showing up. The four of you. We're happy to have you over here. And still
Speaking-
parent involvement, parents.
Yeah.
Or submit a comment.
Speaking of acronyms, one of the things that the federal government had to start doing is when you use an acronym, explain it in the first, and then you can keep on later on down the line. But that helps everybody, because I agree with you, there are times that I have to scratch my head and I'll call and ask what it means, but we did that, we've been doing that for ages, am I correct, Elaine? We still do it that way. So that helps everybody, because you got parents out there that don't even understand half the acronyms that are going on. So it's something to consider and to think of.
I'm not trying to call anyone out. That was just.
No.
I was just gonna tell you, that's also part of the MLA and APA writing format
It is.
too. You get to explain that in the first, just like you said, the first time you use that acronym, you explain what it is. Then as you progress through the document, your research paper, whatever it is, then you can use the acronym.
Thanks. Okay. So we're done there, so let's go, any comments from the public?
None.
Done, what's there? Okay, this is the one I know somebody has some questions on, consent items, A through N.
Yeah, I have a question. And Robert, I think you might be able to answer this one.
Mhm.
But on pages 7 to 8, it says reissue cell dated warrants or warrants, and there's 53 of them.
Yes.
What are those?
Those are largely, at least quickly going through the list, checks issued to a lot of teachers and vendors that then never actually cashed those checks. So once it gets past the 180 days, it's referred to as stale dated. And then as a stale dated warrant, it's on the district end, it's considered a liability because these are funds that were, paid out that have come back to us and we still need to pay them out. So as we get to the end of this school year, trying to go through all of these stale dates so that when we look at object code 95602, I think. Anyway, that, we have a zero balance there and we're not carrying a bigger and bigger liability from year to year that, come, 2 years down the road, somebody's finally like, well, we've never paid this invoice. And it's like, well, we did. And then you never cashed the check. And then we have to, go through 2 years of reports to figure out, oh yeah, okay, yes, we did issue it, and then we got the money back and we just sat on it.
So this just comes from us paying somebody and then not cashing the check?
Yeah, so it's combination of reimbursements, looking at some, Behavior Frontiers, that was a invoice that, we paid and then they never deposited the check or,
I have a question, Mr. Irving. I noticed that I think you mentioned that these are the replaced, you're gonna replace these checks that were never cashed. How many times by law do you have to replace these checks that were never cashed?
I believe it's 2, and then at that point, there's paperwork where we report it to the state controller's office, and the money ultimately leaves us, and then it goes to the state controller, where they then sit on it until somebody reaches out to, on the state controller's website, there's a thing that you can do to look up and be like, okay, is there any money that at some point, using myself as an example, I got home last night, had stuff from State Farm. I have a 38-cent refund check that, pretty stoked about that, that then immediately my bank app is like, no, this check to do a mobile deposit has to be at least $1, where I'm like, but I'm not gonna go to the bank for 38 cents. That's wild. So at some point for State Farm, it will stale date and then sit there until, I, go through the state process to, rightfully get my 38 cents.
So in some of these, I noticed that coincidentally, you're on this list. Are
Yes.
some of these, do you think, a result of people losing the check?
Either losing the check
Kind of
or,
odd, it's that many people.
well, yeah, it's either losing the check. In my case, it's, having a wonderful bank app that, I thought it had deposited and then it clearly didn't. When Talia's like, Robert, you're on here twice. And I'm like,
Oh,
what now?
nice.
yeah, yeah. So, we're gonna,
For 38 cents?
no,
I did not see the second time, Robert, sorry.
I had to get 4 paper clips. It was 38 cents.
It's as bad as the federal government. They spend $500 and some odd dollars. This is back when I got this little DD 250 for $1. But in order to process that, it was $500 to go through all the process to pay that $1. Not worth it. I agree with you, Robert. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay.
I will make a motion that we accept the consent items A through N.
Okay.
Second by Moore.
By Moore, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next. California School Dashboard Local Performance Indicators, Dan? Actually, you're up 3 times here, so. Ron.
Okay, I'm going to present on the California School Dashboard Local Performance Indicators. First, what is the California School Dashboard? The dashboard is a website. It contains critical information about school districts. It's a resource for people to learn about school districts. It's also the main way that the California Department of Education evaluates school districts. So what are local indicators? Well, the dashboard contains data collected by the state on different metrics to evaluate the school district. The local indicators are metrics that the state does not collect quantitative data on, and we do a self-evaluation. So those are the local indicators. This is the dashboard. So these top 7 indicators with like the cell phone reception status bar, those are the indicators that the state collects data on. So those are chronic absenteeism, suspension rate, English learner progress, graduation rate, college and career, which will be populated in the upcoming dashboard. ELA and math, which we get from the Smarter Balanced Assessment. The bottom 5 metrics are what we use the local indicators for, and those are basics, academic standards, parent and family engagement, local climate survey, and access to a broad course of study. So that's what we're going to be looking at this evening, is our local indicators. Okay, this was a collaborative effort. The cabinet worked on this as well as the LCAP committee. Okay, priority 1, basics. So this is data from 21-22. This is the official data from the SARC. The number or percentage of students without access to their own copies of standards aligned instructional materials for use at school and at home is 0. Again, from the 21-22 SARC, the number of identified instances where facilities don't meet the good repair standard was 0. Okay, priority 2 is implementation of academic standards. Okay, this is a rating scale. The LCAP committee worked through this and gave a rating to each of these categories. It's a 5-point scale. 1 being the lowest is the exploration and research phase. 2 is beginning development. 3 is initial implementation. 4 is full implementation, and 5 is full implementation and sustainability. For professional learning, we're doing a good job with professional learning. We gave ourselves a 4. Full implementation on everything except for history, social science, where we've had less professional learning, and we give ourselves a 3. Next is instructional materials. We gave ourselves a 4 on everything except for ELA and math, and that's because ELA and math has older curriculum at the elementary level. The state hasn't adopted new ELA and math curriculum in a long time, and that's not going to happen, I think, for a couple of years. Policies and programs to support staff, we gave ourselves a 3 across the board. Okay, next, same rating scale. The following academic standards. CTE, we gave ourselves a 5. We have 10 pathways for CTE, and we're working on developing an 11th pathway. Health education, we gave ourselves a 3. PE, a 4. We have a PE teacher at every school, including the elementary schools. Visual and performing arts, we gave ourselves a 4. We have a visual arts program at the middle school and the high school, a performing arts program at the high school, and then the homeroom teachers teach visual and performing arts as well. And then world language, we gave ourselves a 3 because the only class that we have is Spanish, but students are able to take other languages in the CELIS. Okay, same rating scale. Support for teachers and administrators, we gave ourselves a 3 across the board. I'll give you a minute to read that. Priority 3, parent and family engagement. That's building relationships between school staff and families, building partnerships for student outcomes, and seeking input for decision making. Okay, for building relationships, we gave ourselves a 3 across the board, except for a 4. I'll give you a minute to read that, and then I'll talk about the 4. Okay, the 4 is multiple opportunities to engage with the community in two-way communications. We gave ourselves a 4 because of the new Aries communication platform, which features two-way communication, meaning that the school sites, the administrators, the teachers send messages or posts to families, and families are able to reply to those posts. So that's two-way communication. And it also automatically translates into the recipient's home language. Okay, this is survey results. Annually, we give the California School Parent Survey to the families. We had over 400 respondents. This is the percentage of respondents who agreed or strongly agreed. And we compare the 2022 results, and we see that it went up from 2022 to 2023 across the board. And I'll give you a minute to read that.
That was families that responded to the survey?
Correct. So we see positive improvement across the board.
Now, that survey went out both in English and Spanish, correct?
Correct.
Number 3 is a good one. But
Did it go out in English and Spanish and in 2022 as well?
Yes.
We just keep pushing parent involvement with their kids at school. Yeah, just keep pushing from the board on them.
And I think you're gonna see what we're doing on the next slide. The LCAP survey, 368 respondents went out in the spring. We had an open-ended question about suggestions for improving family engagement, and some common themes were to make the volunteer process easier, send out text messages rather than phone messages, make it easier and cheaper for parents to do a live scan, and then do a better job of communicating upcoming events, athletic events. So we have, in response, we've adopted the new communications platform, and we'll also be offering free live scans to all parent volunteers. Priority 6, school climate. This is the California Healthy Kids Survey, which students in grades 7, 9, and 11 take in the fall. The majority of our students took the survey in grades 7, 9, and 11. The question is, how safe do you feel safe at school? This is the percentage of students who indicate that they feel safe or very safe. I do want to offer a caveat, which is the majority of students indicated neutral. They felt neither safe nor unsafe. So we didn't have a high percentage saying that they didn't feel safe.
Still not good.
Yeah, still 30 in the 30s is still, we gotta work on it.
Yeah.
That's
Do you have
basically
last
what's
year's
on.
data too?
Yes? Yeah, I have all
How's it compared to this year's and last year's? I know it's a
I-
different group of kids.
I'd have to look. I'm not sure.
I mean, I just question to see if it's the same. I know it's a different group of kids, but.
No.
Okay, this one. Question is, I am happy to be at this school. This is the percentage of students who responded very much true or pretty much true. And it goes down as the kids get older.
Now, the questions we sent out, it's just a question that asks that question.
Correct.
Is there any way they can make comments
No.
underneath?
No, there are no open-ended questions in the survey.
You might want to consider that somewhere down the line.
What's a survey that we have to send out?
Yeah.
As is.
We-
It's like a pre-made survey.
Yeah,
Yes. It's all kids.
yeah.
No, I understand that, but I'd like to see what the kids actually have got to say. Maybe we can put a supplement out with it.
In this question, Dan, what was the percentage of the kids who sort of stayed in the middle?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I would guess that the majority would be in the middle.
do these surveys for the students include comment sections? Like there's no comment,
No.
it's just.
That's what I was talking about.
So, yeah, because it's really up to their interpretation and based on my own individual talking with students, like, I can see where that would be very skewed data.
And if you're calling on a bad day.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Or early.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, priority 7, access to a broad course of study, grades K through 5. I'll give you time to read that over.
Is it possible to make the print bigger, Dan? No,
Do you want me to read it?
that's okay. I probably read it before, I just.
Robert, surprisingly, I see that perfectly. Said I can see that great, just don't get it in closer.
Oh,
It's-
I need
Okay.
it.
So,
I can't even see it. I thought I was the
No,
only
I
one.
All
I'm
right,
like
let me-
leaning closer.
It's, I think the reason why everybody asking this is that, half that on one slide and then the next slide would make it a lot.
let me just read it. All students have access to Common Core curriculum for math and ELA, supplemental programs to support their curriculum, including a reading intervention program. Students are enrolled in social studies classes that follow the California History Social Science Framework. All students study science, and the district is implementing the NGSS standards. Individual teachers address the visual and performing arts standards within their own classrooms. Individual teachers address the health standards within their own classrooms. Students in grades K through 5 have 100 minutes of PE instruction per week led by a certified PE teacher. There are no differences across school sites or student groups. Students with disabilities are engaged in the same curriculum as the general education students.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Dan.
Sure. For my next career, I'm hoping to read audiobooks.
Good luck.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Some,
I would listen to it.
I listen to audiobooks, and some of those narrators are just tremendous.
Terrible. Some are terrible.
Some, yeah,
though.
there's a wide range.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would listen.
But some of them do voices and stuff that are
Yeah.
really good. Okay, priority 7, same priority, access to a broad course of study. This is for grades 6 through 12. Students at RHECC have access to a full course of study, including 10 CTE pathways. Students at TMS have access to a full course of study, including 3 full-time PE teachers, Spanish, art, and band. Students with disabilities take the same curriculum as the general education students. Students at Rare Earth and Abraham Lincoln take their core curriculum and elective classes online using Acellus courseware. Okay, this slide is, are there barriers preventing any SKUSD students from accessing a broad course of study? And the answer is no, there are no barriers. For students at Abe Lincoln and Rare Earth, we've adopted Acellus digital courseware. Acellus offers a wide variety of elective courses that were not offered to ALIS and Rare Earth students previously. These elective courses include foreign language, STEM, including coding, CTE classes, and fine arts. And that's it. This was an informational item. I believe the dashboard will be published in December. It might be published before then, but last I heard it was December. We will submit. So the actual write-up, this wasn't the entire local performance indicators. The actual write-up was in the board packet, and we'll submit all of that to the dashboard, and it'll be published on the dashboard.
Some of those 3s will be 4s and 5s next year.
Yep, I think so too. Okay,
For the next.
am I up again?
Yeah, go ahead.
First, control and accountability.
Okay, this is the LCAP. We presented the LCAP at the last board meeting. At this board meeting, the board will decide whether or not to approve of the LCAP. So before we did that, we just wanted to look at minor changes that we've made since last week. Okay. First change, we have a new action. We had a new action in the LCAP, Goal 1 Action 31, Universal Design for Learning. Last week, the district and school site administration met with KCSOS, and we determined that we do not want to move forward with UDL. The rationale being that we have a major initiative, PBIS, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, which we have talked about, and we don't want to do both of those large initiatives at the same time. It's too much. So we've decided not to move forward with UDL, so we're going to remove UDL from the LCAP.
And UDL would be more aligned to keeping the professional learning communities.
Right.
Which covers everything under that umbrella.
Okay, next, Goal 2 Action 1 was entitled Capturing Kids' Hearts and Character Strong. We're changing the title to PBIS. So our initiative to support positive student behavior is called PBIS. It will include elements of capturing kids' hearts and character strong. But we're focusing on the PBIS program. We're renaming it, and we're including capturing kids' hearts and character strong in the action. Okay, we've already made this change. We changed the number, we changed the verbiage and the number in terms of the number of mental health service providers. The updated verbiage is that the district employs 5 school psychologists, a social emotional learning specialist, and 2 therapists. Just updated the numbers. And then finally, we increased the LCAP budget by over $400,000, and that money goes to supporting and providing additional services to our unduplicated students, our low income, our EL, and our foster students. And this is how we increased those budgets. We added funding to the CTE program to pay for an additional pathway and additional equipment. The total budget is $1,564,000. We added funding to Action 13 and Goal 1, dual enrollment college classes. We just added the college and career coordinator salary and benefits to that action. The budget is $133,000. Goal 1, Action 28 interventionists. We're budgeting for 4 interventionists for a budget of $600,000. And then finally, the Spanish program at the middle school. We recently purchased Spanish curriculum and we added that to the budget. And those are the changes to the LCAP. And handed it back to the board.
Okay. C, adopt district local control and accountability plan.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Gutierrez, all second.
One more.
You got it. All in favor?
Aye.
District budget, Mr. Irvin.
Don't say 80-something cents.
No, we rounded off the cents for, I think,
No,
most of it.
he's got to put in an extra 28 cents.
Yeah.
38 cents.
All right, so before I get started with the PowerPoint, we'll pick up where I left off last week. State legislator passed their budget bill on January 5th. January, oh boy, they were late. We're early. On June 15th, so last Thursday. The governor has until June 30th to negotiate, veto, approve, whatever. At this point, since 2000, in the last few years, the legislature has passed what is colloquially referred to as a shell budget of, yes, technically we passed SB 101. We did our part, now we can get paid because we made a budget by June 15th. Now with the devil in the details, the next several weeks and months will become, this is your budget, this is the budget we passed, and here's actually the real details of how it's going to work. And if we're going to add a program, how is the enforcement part going to work? So it's been, it's super fun to, in October be like, oh, this is the thing that you guys talked about last summer, and you're finally getting around to telling us how it's supposed to work or how we're going to account for it. So hopefully by the end of next week, the governor has, done his part, and we at least have an idea of what the skeleton of the budget will look like. And then through July, August, September, we'll get more and more details with trailer bills and other things as the omnibus bills, go through. So let's talk about revenues. All right, at this point, our budgeted revenue for 23-24 is $67 million.
You're gonna say, we're gonna live
Yeah,
on
we're
67,000.
Yeah.
Fallon, you'll have to go.
Sorry about that. I saw that first comment and thought I'd stop saying things after it. $67,670,677. Yes, there's a lot. Yeah, there's the reoccurring theme there. The unrestricted revenue is based off the LCFF calculator. This is a tool that is put out by FICMET that districts put in ADA, their unduplicated numbers, local property tax. It's been an ongoing document for years. So, at this point, it's also a historical record so that, all I have to do is put in the district CDS code and it pulls up all the past information for Southern Kern, which is helpful. I didn't list all of the resources for restricted because, there's so many. We've gone from, the LCFF and LCAP being, this is definitely the way we're going to do everything back into, into a more categorical phase of things. So for the, sake of space and not having itty bitty font listing all of the separate resources, by restricted, I mean things that have defined categories or programs that they're earmarked for, so our ESSER 3 funds as far as COVID safety and learning loss and everything that falls under that umbrella. And then our, standard, our Title 1 for the homeless, foster, low socioeconomic students, Title 2 for teacher development, Title 3 for our EL and English learning students, and Title 4 for student supports. And then as something that wasn't titled, the after-school program. But there's a whole, just the list of different resources now could be 2 or 3 slides that I don't think anybody wanted to look at. Estimated funded ADA for next year is 3,330 for the sake of a round number that didn't have any 6s in it. Looking at historically where we have been at P2, as our enrollment trends continue, this growth from 21-22 into 22-23 going on into 23-24, this is, I think, a safe estimate that isn't any dramatically higher or lower than where we are. This is a breakdown of what, let me circle back real quick. As part of the budget process, I'm looking both at what are our estimated actuals for this current school year, where the books don't really close until June 30th. And by that, I mean September, when I finally get everything tied together, and we'll be at what is called unaudited actuals. So that is as of June 30th, and then we've had time to go back, and if there were bills that, invoices set up as liabilities that didn't get paid because we had to, put a stop to that so we could actually close the year and then go back and adjust that and then everything else and make sure, let the dust settle. So the first part of the budget is the estimated actual. So this is where an estimation of where we're going to wind up for the year with all of these. So for our revenues, it's fairly flat. There's an increase in LCFF revenue because our student population has grown over the last year. Aside from COLA, federal revenues are fairly flat. The big decrease is in other state revenues. So that is where a lot of the state funded categorical. So our learning loss recovery block grant that last week talked about being around 5 million. It's actually 5.9 million. So that part that, where a third of that is more than likely going back to the state, and 50% of the art, music, instructional block grant, and all of those have been in an area that's other state revenue. Reality is, if they're cutting programs and clawing back money, we're probably not going to be seeing a large, change midway through the year of, here's some extra dollars that we had for learning loss that, in previous years, come April, it's here's another pile of money called ELO or IPI or, So for that, there's, the decrease there for all of those funds. They have what is called a fund balance, meaning that as a district, we recognize the revenue as we get it. Some things like our federal funds and some of the other categorical, we don't recognize the revenue until we've actually spent it. So, and then local revenue is, made up of generally a category called non-specific revenue, which, really very broad caveat there. But for, this last year, it's been, funds from the Cal Shape program for HVAC or plumbing. Those kind of things where there's, as far as I know at this point, nothing new coming down the pipeline in those regards. So, it's more or less the same, but a little bit less given the state that, best case scenario, we stay flat. Moving on to the expenditures. Overall, the budgeted expenditures are 67 million. I don't know. I keep wanting to say thousand. 845,000. What you'll notice is that overall expenditures are outpacing revenues, and that's why I went through the whole thing on fund balance. We're getting to a point now that we're getting near the end of the one-time ESSER and GEAR and all of those COVID funds. That money that the state has given us for other things, we've already recognized the revenue, and now as we start to use those resources, we're going to show the actual cost. So while we've received the money now, we don't recognize that we received the money twice. Of we got it, okay, and then we got it, and now we're spending it. So that's why there's it's a overall expenditure is $166,000 more than revenue at this point, but that's because we've already received the cash and recognized the revenue either in 22-23 or 21-22 for some of it. One-time funding still is increasing expenses across the board for the same thing as the last several years with the amount of COVID dollars and learning loss mitigation dollars that, the one-time use funds, they're still in play for another year. So we've pushed things, trying to run the gamut of, summer schools. We're running the 2 sessions with extra duty throughout the year with the academies and tutoring and additional supplies for support, capital expenditures where we can. So the voice over IP upgrade for the high school that's currently happening and soon to be hopefully in the winter, knock on wood, over at West Park, that we're able to use some of these ESSER dollars for bigger one-time projects that the district needs. Our supplemental and concentration dollars in the LCAP. So this is the additional money the district gets because of our unduplicated pupil percentage. At this point is estimated to be $13 million, which is all incorporated within the expenditures for the budget, plus the recognizing the fact that there is a carryover from prior year LCAPs. At this point, salary and benefits make up 70.22% of the total budgeted expenditures. And then out of general fund, $4.8 million are committed for that LCAP carryover. Where a large reason why we have a reserve as high as we do has been because of our LCAP carryover. So this is the breakdown of expenditures. It's fairly flat. The only area, and I want to point it out because it does look a little bit wonky, is that benefits is dropping by about $1,000, where with benefits everybody's thinking typically health and welfare, but with extra duty and everything like that, not all of the statutory benefits apply to extra duty work. So as part of if you're a member of PERS and you're working overtime, OSDI gets charged, but not necessarily the PERS expense, because PERS doesn't recognize overtime as additional compensation. But, once you've hit your 8 hours for the day, that's when PERS taps out on, considering that contributions towards retirement. But Well, you'll see, the massive jump in services and operating expenses. This is largely due to the addition of the cafeteria to the LCAP, with the vast majority of those expenditures will be considered services. And then a minor increase in other outgo. Other outgo is tuition paid to other entities. For us, it would be KCOS, and it's been slowly trickling up, but it's not it's $10,000 out of 67 million, so it's not necessarily cause for alarm at this point. But all right, and then as part of budget is the multi-year projection. And there are several assumptions that go into trying to figure out both current year and then upcoming years. And a lot of this is a little bit of a restating what I've already talked about of our unrestricted revenues, our base supplemental and LCFF dollars. Our P2 for 22-23 was 3280, which is about a 50 or so percent, not percent, which is it's an increase over P2 of 21-22. So we are seeing our overall attendance rate go up along with enrollment. Both enrollment and the percentage of ADA are increasing. Again, defining what restricted funding includes with ESSER 3, and then UPK is we've got funding to help jumpstart the universal pre-K process, including funds to purchase curriculum and furniture, all those things that are helpful inside of the classroom. For our LCAP, the expenditures have what is a T2 and a T3 accounts to help identify them, and what I mean by that is there's something called the standardized account code structure, which is every district, we all use the same codes. So that way when it's going to CDE, they have, an idea of what we're doing or trying to, how to codify things. Kern County has additional fields on top of just the standard so that we can do more district specific things. So within the LCAP, if something is supplemental concentration, it has a T2 of 72. If it and then it has a T3 to identify what action or what goal and what action does that correspond to. So at the mid-year and at the end of the year when it's trying to figure out what did we spend and how did we do it. I'm not bald over here from ripping hair out because I'm trying to piece together invoices months later or timesheets months later. Like we have it codified so it makes sense, and I can run some basic reports and create a pivot table that blows Dan's mind. So
I love pivot tables.
And then district budget for this year is projecting a reserve of 9.98% for the end of this 23-24. And then the subsequent year instructions, a lot of the same stuff as the current year. Overtime, ADA I'm projecting to increase up to 93.3, which sounds absolutely abysmal from, looking at anything pre-COVID, but where we currently are to 90, it's moderate growth for us. So hopefully we outpace that, but I'm not trying to, be overly optimistic either and set us up for, sunnier projections than if reality doesn't come to fruition. Stepping column salary increases are projected for 2% year to year. The consumer price index is based on the school services dartboard, which is a tool that lists, predictions of, projections for COLA, upcoming changes to pensions, consumer price index, very helpful tool from school services that is recognized statewide as a, legitimate source and not, just me creating something in Excel and being like, this seems about right. I did 2 economy class or economics classes in undergrad. That's probably fine. There are projected increases to employee pensions per the dartboard. At this point, STRS is staying. The employer rate is staying at a flat 19.1%. PERS, on the other hand, is steadily climbing closer and closer to 30% in the next 2 years. So, looking forward to that. And then as far as, just the state of the overall economy, at this point, federal categorical funding is projected flat, given that, the uncertainty whether or not, either there's a statewide recession or something larger that, encapsulates the federal government, ESHA 3 is, planned usage in 23, 24. And then after that is, been cut out of multi-year project, not counting on money that expired in 23, 24 and subsequent years. And at the 3 years out for 24, 25, the district at this point is projecting a reserve of 18.52%. And then this is just a little table showing that, the 9.98, the 18.52 with the note that the reserve is based on, commitment of the 4.8 million for the LCAP carryover. Thank you very much.
I have a question. Robert, is there any, I know that Governor has till June 30th, but have you heard anything or seen anything that might indicate to you that we may see a decrease in the initial COLA that came out?
No, both the governor's proposal and the state legislator's proposal, the one of the few areas that they're in agreement is on the COLA being 8.22. How they get to that number, there's a little bit of discrepancy on, and then revenues should be clearer, and hopefully by the time audited actuals are done in September 15th, if not, definitely we'll know by the time first interim is presented with the tax receipts delayed until October. That part is, kind of the biggest question mark of all of, okay, districts are making their budgets, the state's making its budget, and not all the funds have been collected. So to figure out, okay, what is the actual revenue coming in? That's, part of the fun I've been having for the last, 6 weeks or so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, certified district budget for 2023-2024. Any motion? I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Approve resolution -22-23-17 regarding delegation of administrative authority to process routine budget revisions, adjustments, and transfer funds. Mr. Irving?
All right, this is an annual resolution to give Barbara and or her designee, in this case me, the authority to make budget revisions and transfer funds if needed. There are 3 times a year that budget revisions are definitely have to be done, and then minor tweaks in the in between. But at both the first and second interim, as well as the unaudited actuals, are really the 3 big times of the year that budget revisions are required.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 22-23-17.
Okay,
I'll second.
Second by Moore, all in favor? Aye. Approve resolution 22-23-18, the Board of Education of SKUSD designating certain general funds as committed, about fund balance. Sir?
All right, so this is a resolution that, is reaffirming that the board has approved the commitment of the $4.8 million and is categorized as going towards the LCAP carryover.
Okay, motion by Mario, second by Adrian, all in favor? Aye. Personnel items, approved annual declaration of need for fully qualified educators for 2023-2024 targets.
All right, so this declaration is, it states that we are going to go out and find as many highly qualified teachers as we possibly can. In the event that we still have some, openings, it does allow us to hire teachers that, may be under a waiver of PIP or skill.
Okay,
In other words, in PIPs and STIPs,
I'm sorry.
that means that PIP and STIPs.
PIPs are provisional interim permits, and then STIP is a short-term staff
Right,
permit.
that this will allow us to.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
motion by Moore. Second by Merkin, all in favor? Approved annual statement of need, 30-day substitute teaching permit, service.
So this allows us to hire substitute teachers, which we need many of every day. So we say, please, please, please.
Okay.
Motion that we approve.
All right,
Second.
second by Wyndon, all in favor? Aye. Approve the following list of personnel items, and then we go down to, under certification, stipend extra duty employment. We approved the agenda change, and it's actually TMS for the last two. Okay. Any comments from Ms. Hargis?
I don't have any comments.
I have one question. I see that there's one employee that is getting a 2.5% and the others are like 3%.
So those are the department shares, and that's why there's a salary correction, was because originally I put everybody at 2% on the last one. And so it actually goes by sections at the secondary level. So I want to say it's 1 through 12, 13 through 23. So everybody that is a 3%, they fall into that category where I think it's 13 through 23. And the last person has maybe, 12 sections. And it's department sections. So each teacher teaches 5 sections. So based on the number of teachers is the number of sections.
Motion? No motion? Second. All in favor? Aye.
So you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Yeah.
Since you were
No,
slow,
I was just,
you were slow on the switch today.
no, I was
No,
just
I'm taking.
waiting. I was just waiting.
Because what Leanne just said just fried my brain.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all in favor?
I
Aye. Okay. 5, 1.
gotta say that a little slower next time because. Wow.
As we said before, we do have a little bit of fun every once in a while. Okay.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Hey,
Second.
second, more, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Got you out of here before you got,
8:21.
8:21. Well,